Hi everyone, welcome to the Hanapin Marketing and WordStream webinar on mobile PPC, proven strategies and untapped opportunities. Today we're going to be talking about the facts that prove why mobile PPC is necessary. We'll review some case studies, some bad examples of mobile PPC, and we'll look at analyzing mobile PPC and the technology used for it, and we'll have live Q&A at the end of the presentation. So when we're ready to do Q&A, you'll have a questions box on the right-hand side of your screen, so just type your questions in there and we'll be happy to answer them. I'd like to introduce our speakers. Today we have Larry Kim, founder and CTO of WordStream with over 10 years of PPC and SEO experience. And we have Jeff, sorry.
Thanks, Kathy, and thank you, PPC Heroes and WordStreamers for joining us today.
And we have Jeff Allen, Account Director at Hanapin Marketing and writer for PPC Hero.
Yeah, hey everybody, it's great to be here. I'm very excited to be here with Larry and to do this webinar with you guys.
Great. So if you're interested in tweeting or sending a Google Plus status update, you can use the hashtag pound mobile PPC, and feel free to tweet and Google Plus away. So we have a couple of questions we'd like to ask you to just get to know you all a little bit better. So this is our first polling question.
The question here is, how long have you been involved with search marketing? And we like to ask this question up front just so we can kind of customize the presentation a bit here. You know, have you been working for like less than a year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, or over 5 years? And if you could just lock in your answers there on your screen, that'd be great. Hey Jeff, I was just wondering, in your intro, it didn't say how long you've been doing PPC. How long have you been in the business?
Yeah, so I've been doing PPC specifically for 6 or 7 years now. I've kind of lost track of exact time here, and I've been doing internet marketing in general since 2000. So I think you and I are kind of the old men of the industry.
Awesome. So I see like we got about 77% voting, and I think we can close this poll, Kathy. And looks like you know, there's a few veterans like us here, but mostly 1 to 3 years. So that's great. And that just brings us to our second question for the audience today. And since the topic of today's webinar is on mobile PPC, we were just curious, how well do you know mobile PPC? And Kathy, could you launch that? Thanks. So we just came up with a couple ideas on kind of to judge your mobile worthiness. You know, A is like, what's mobile? 2 is, you know, if we're thinking about mobile, or C would be like that you've actually implemented mobile and have mobile landing pages. And D is, it's kind of like, you know, everyone does the mobile by default. Like when you create a campaign, the default is actually for desktop and mobile. You know, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily you have a mobile strategy, and maybe perhaps you'd like to improve kind of your mobile strategy. Any thoughts or anything to add here, Jeff?
No, that's I think your point towards there's a lot of people doing mobile because it's I think the third concurrent year of mobile, as they say, but not necessarily with the strategy.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so obviously since I run a PPC company and we're the ones putting on this webinar, it should come to no surprise to you that I think that mobile search is important. I think Jeff just said something funny, that it's the third consecutive year of mobile. That's great. I'll have to remember that one. But really, you don't have to take my word for it, because I can just prove it to you, and I'm going to do this by just sharing with you a couple surprising facts about mobile search, because I really think that some of the numbers here are pretty big. Starting with the number of active smartphones that are like active today, and as you can see here, last quarter, the world in total has surpassed 1 billion active smartphones. And just to give you a sense for how fast that's growing, Google says that they're actually activating over 1 million phones per day on the Android platform, and and Apple says that they've done something like 46 million iPhones last quarter, and so that works out to be roughly 500,000 a day. So you're seeing like a huge number of smartphones being activated, 1 billion people, and growing at maybe 1.5 million to 2 million a day. That's pretty big. And you can see the chart at the bottom here. It shows that as of last quarter, the sales of smartphones and tablets have exceeded sales of PCs, sorry, and that it's wow, that's a pretty impressive trend there. So as you might have expected, if there's more smartphones out there in the world, that probably means that you're going to see a lot more searches happening on mobile devices. And in fact, the number of searches on Google every day from mobile devices, Google does roughly 1 to 2 billion searches on their search engine per day. The share of mobile searches is expected to exceed the share from desktop searches by 2014. And additionally, the rate of growth is just really fast, like 500% growth in mobile searches in 2011, and that most people, like there was some research done by Google and other companies, showed that mobile searches are very rich in customer intent, like commercial intent, meaning that after they do this mobile search, they're very likely to try to visit that business or call that business that they found. So this could be a very effective marketing channel. And so if everyone's doing these local searches, the thing I wanted to point out here is that obviously it's a big opportunity for businesses like you, and particularly local businesses like dentists or florists or auto dealers, or any business that has a phone or an office presence. There are a couple other stats to share with you here. 1 out of 5 searches on the desktop are actually related to location, so like directions to a business, etc. But that number increases, the percentage of local searches increases from roughly 20% to 33% if the search is conducted on a mobile device. That's pretty huge, I think. And finally here, I just wanted to add that this opportunity in mobile is hugely complementary to your existing search marketing efforts. And what I mean by this is, look at this chart on the screen here. It's just showing you the number of mobile searches that happen and the number of desktop searches happening over the time of a 24-hour day. And notice how the desktop searches tend to peak around 10 a.m. That's kind of when you're in the office and you're starting your day. But whereas mobile sort of peaks closer to 10, 11 in the evening, which is when you're at home and you're on the go. So the takeaway here is that by embracing both desktop and mobile, you can potentially drive business all day, provided that that's an important objective for your business. And so in summary, I think just to summarize these 4 points here, I think these trends like having the billion smartphones out there, or just the rapidly increasing number of mobile searches, and that so many of searches conducted on these mobile devices are rich in commercial intent and local intent, and how this is so complementary to desktop search. These are all reasons why I think that from a data and industry trend perspective, that we cannot ignore this. And so I'm going to now turn things over to Jeff for Jeff's take on the matter. Take it away, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. So I think that your analysis of the industry as a whole, particularly the different times of day when mobile searches are high compared to desktops, is incredibly important. Like you're saying, you want to stay in front of your users wherever they are and whenever they are. So I'm going to take just a little bit of a different angle here on why mobile matters. And for me, in addition to the importance of just the raw volume of inventory that's out there for it, it's a little bit more personal. So why mobile matters to me is because some 12, 13 years ago when I got into the industry, I went home and told my parents that, hey, I'd fallen into this really cool job in this really cool industry, and I think it's what I want to do with my life, and it's called marketing. Parents weren't exactly happy about that. They're like, oh no, a marketer. I mean, anything but a marketer. Don't you want to do something else with your life? And sure enough, they were pretty upset about it. So to me, it's more personal because the reasons why I was enrolling them in that this was my chosen profession was because PPC and internet marketing is different, right? We're relevant. We stay in front of them. Even back in 2000, it was about sending emails only to people who had opted into a list about a specific offer, and even then sending them a very custom-honed message on that offer that took them to a landing page that they cared about. So it was really about giving people what they wanted versus interrupting their favorite TV programming or radio show or whatever it was there. And now, obviously, with remarketing and the level of sophistication we have with PPC, it's the same thing. I'm in it and I'm really excited about it because how specific you can be, how you can be a tool for people to find what they're looking for versus something that's trying to get in the way of what they're trying to do with their life. So that's why it matters to me. Hopefully my wonderful sweet mom is not on this webinar today, which she sometimes does, because I think she'd be less than thrilled that I put a picture of her up. But that's a big reason for me why it matters. So I want to do a couple case studies of people who aren't doing it particularly well. And in general, I tend to be an equal opportunity slanderer. So this is a case study of a client that I had worked with at some point in which I learned a very valuable lesson, which is to stay out of sales, because I'm really just a good enough salesperson to get myself in trouble. So after a really long time working with this client and say, we got to do mobile, we got to do mobile, we got to do mobile, they finally came back and said, that's awesome, let's do mobile. We think you're right. And I said, great, when can we have a mobile optimized site done? What's our timeline? And they're like, oh, no, let's just send it to our desktop version of the same website. And immediately I realized my mistake and that I should never take a profession in sales. And so this is a sample of the landing page we took. It's a little different than the one that I used originally, but the same kind of layout. So on this landing page, there's 137 links that you would have to try to navigate, try to thumb through on a smartphone. And there's a two-step 14-plus filled form for them to complete to become a lead. So
hey Jeff, I'm not even sure if that's a great landing page for PPC.
I think these are all fair points. So needless to say, I probably should call my mom up and apologize for the mistakes I made, because I told her I was better than this. I told her that I was different, that PPC was different, and I was one of the biggest offenders. So as I was preparing for talking about mobile, I started thinking, who out there would just have a really killer mobile site? Who would use all the available tools and be able to deliver me something that was really personalized and unique? So I started thinking, well, my phone is an iPhone, and my carrier is AT&T. Who better to deliver me that personalized experience than AT&T? I thought that this was going to be great. So I hop on my phone and I do a search. But before I do that, I want to just talk a little bit about how easy it is to do mobile on very specific levels. So if you jump in your settings tab, you opt in only mobile devices. You can select the type of device you want. So here I've obviously chosen the iPhone. And then you can also check the carrier you want, which I can add AT&T. So in about 2 seconds, almost literally, you can jump in, you can click a couple buttons, and you can make sure you're targeting a campaign to only the device and the carrier that you want. Beyond that, I want to see, well, it doesn't really matter. Should you really do that? Do the results bear out if you do that level of targeting? So this was a campaign. There was this over something like a 90-day period. The pre-device targeting, which meant it was a campaign that was originally just running desktop and mobile, which is definitely not in best practice. And you can see there a cost per lead of $9.58 and a conversion rate of 0.39%. So again, as Larry mentioned before, not even necessarily a great PPC campaign in terms of the conversion rate went. So we had a lot of work to do. So along with other optimizations, one of the easy things was to do device targeting and to break it out by that. And post-device targeting, this first line was what happened if we targeted, well, these two different lines are what happened if we targeted different devices. So one was iPhone and one was Android. So one went down to $1.23 cost per conversion at 3.5%, and the other one $1.15 at 3.7%. So not only is it incredibly easy, but the results bear out that if you actually use this level of targeting, you can make a significant impact on your account. So knowing all this, being really excited to type in AT&T on my phone, I type in, I click the link, and this is where it takes me. First of all, 26 links on the page, and not one personalized message. Not welcome AT&T customer, not do you need to upgrade your iPhone, not even a prominent link, do you want to pay your bill. I get the exact same thing everyone else in the industry got. So I was pretty heartbroken, needless to say. I thought I was really onto something with this thought process. And the last case study, so I thought, okay, now who out there is going to be super mobile savvy? And I thought Adobe. Adobe has to be super mobile savvy. I mean, everything about them screams personalization, cutting edge technology. So I jump on, load their site, and I'm really, really excited what I see. It's mobile optimized. In fact, I'm so excited, you can see I didn't even let it finish loading before I was like, okay, let me start jumping around here. I'm going to find some really, really cool stuff. So what I do is I click the products button at the top. Really easy to click, and this is what pops up, which is exactly the same as their desktop version of their product site. So they mobile optimize their home page, but when they kick me to the page that I'm really going to start digging around on and looking for what I'm trying to find, it's the same thing as the desktop version. Not so excited anymore. I have 109 links above the fold. And not only 109 links, but the font is about 10 point. So on my iPhone, I have to super zoom in order to be able to get to it and click to where I want to go. So why does mobile matter to me? On top of the factoids that Larry mentioned, which are incredibly important, it's also because we're really bad at it in general. I think we're getting better. I think more and more, month over month, more and more people are focusing on it. But in general, some really big names are just bad at it and bad at delivering an experience for users that's really customized. And because you can get a 10 to 15% increase in performance today. So campaigns that we have or accounts that we have that are very heavy in mobile, that are investing in it, that have mobile optimized pages, really do see today 10 or 15% of their conversions coming from mobile. And I say not in 2015 because that's a lot of the studies, a lot of the research where the industry's going, but it really is happening. It's the year of the mobile, it's kind of over. It happened over the last year, and now mobile is just part of our everyday reality. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Larry now, who's going to talk about another case study.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for sharing that. So in addition to our kind of high-level observations, I thought we could talk a little bit more in detail about a specific case study around one customer that I was working with recently. And now this particular company in question, they asked specifically not to reveal sort of the company name, and this is for competitive reasons, of course. He's like so excited about search and mobile search that he didn't want any of his competitors to know what I'm about to reveal to you here. So in case you're wondering, I'm going to be blurring out some of the company information in the following slides. But basically, at a high level, it doesn't even really matter. The company is a cleanup company. All right. What's a cleanup company? It's kind of like, say a tree falls on your car and you need someone to get rid of that, or someone, I don't know, dies and has a whole bunch of junk in their apartment that you need to get rid of, or if a water pipe explodes and ruins everything in your apartment. So this company will help you get rid of that junk. And when before the business became a client of WordStream's, the business had all of their campaigns set to the default setting, which is to have combined campaigns for desktop and mobile. And so we thought that this could be a very good candidate for sort of what I'm calling campaign mobilization. And the reasons why I thought that just were maybe a little bit subjective, but basically it was kind of thinking, well, they're a local business, meaning their customers sort of come from a region as opposed to like international or something like that. Their business relied on getting the phone to ring, and that was one of the key metrics. So I was thinking mobile. Also, we thought that because the business, a lot of the business that they sell is sort of kind of more urgent in nature. What I mean by that, it's not something that you have like a tree falls on your car. You're not going to spend like a week researching like removals services, you probably want to get that fixed quickly. And so we thought, because of the kind of the urgency of the nature of the business, we thought maybe that could also, like the short sales cycle, could also be a good indicator for a good fit for mobile PPC ads. And so let me take you through sort of what ended up happening. So let's start with the process. So to start with, we just kept it simple. We cloned the existing search campaigns. Now, as I was saying earlier, by default, whenever you create a campaign, it's always set to both desktop and tablets and mobiles. And so what we ended up doing was making a copy of the existing campaigns and then changing it so that one version of the campaigns were targeting desktops and laptops, and the other one was targeting mobile devices like smartphones. Now, as Jeff mentioned earlier, there's a ton of different options there to segment by Google or iPhone or whatever, but we just decided to keep it kind of simple and left it at that level. Next, now that you've kind of separated the campaigns from one big campaign serving everyone to two different campaigns, you want to then create different experiences for the different mediums, for the different channels. And so when we're talking, the mobile campaigns, like we didn't touch the search campaigns here, like just the mobile ad creation. Sorry, the mobile campaigns. We needed to set up some mobile extensions, as well as so the click-to-call extensions, as well as the local extensions, so that the business could be shown on a map, which is very important. Google Maps showing up in Google results, and so the process isn't it's not rocket science or anything, but it is a little. There are some gotchas here. Basically, you go into your account and then you set up this call extension that I was talking about earlier, and there's some tracking options here. You could use like a forwarding number, so that would be like a 1-866 number or 1-800 number that allows Google to track calls for you, but that comes at an additional cost. Otherwise, you could just have it go straight to bring the number, your regular business number. Additionally, for the location extension, it's similarly, you just either link to an existing Google Places account, or you can fill out the phone number and name and address and city and town of your business manually here, and now you've linked. Like if you associate these with the campaigns, you've now effectively mobilized sort of at least the ad copy of the ad here. I'd mentioned call tracking earlier about that additional tracking option, and all that is that in your AdWords account, if you so desire, if you want to use that feature, you could get a report that shows sort of the record of the calls, and it doesn't give you a tremendous amount of detail, but it does give you sort of the time, the status, the duration, and sort of where they called from, and that kind of thing. So that's what that call reporting option was. Now, the second part of setting up this mobile campaign was not only the ads, but also the landing page to where we're sending them. As Jeff was talking earlier, he was showing some pretty nasty, mobile unfriendly pages, and so we didn't want to do that. And so for this company, we just created a simple landing page. I kind of blurred out the name of the company here, as I mentioned earlier. The client didn't want to provide the name, but you can see here that the call to action it's in red. It's very prominent. It just says "Call us today." It's very simple. The second one is to find us, like where are you located. Like these are very applicable calls to action for a mobile phone, and it's a lot easier than trying to figure it out by Google searching a non-optimized website. And so in order to do this, by the way, we just use a third-party service called Duda Mobile, and they're you can sign up for that, or there's other kind of third-party mobile landing pages services offered on the web. And so that after having done the work of configuring the ads, the landing pages, we wanted to see like how did things turn out. And so so our first finding was that the mobile campaigns, it accounted for roughly 15% of the impressions. So it wasn't, you know, I was saying earlier there were some bold predictions about you know, Google taking over, you know, mobile taking over Google search by 50% by 2014. So it's not like, it's not yet for this particular business. It's going to vary by business, of course, but for this particular business, it was around 15% of the searches were for mobile. But still, that's a lot of people, it's really hard to compare sort of desktop and mobile campaigns side by side because they're different. Like they have different call to actions, and the tracking works slightly differently. But basically, even despite those kind of differences, the click-through rate on the mobile campaigns were slightly improved, not like double or anything, but by 10%, which is, I think that's worth the effort, and definitely you know, for this type of business where a lead can be worth a lot of money, or sorry, a customer could be worth a lot of money. That's definitely helpful. So that kind of summarizes my my case study for this local business, how we mobilized the campaigns and what the results were. I'm going to just pass things back to Jeff. I think he has another case study of his own to share.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. So going back to why PPC matters, really matters because we're better than this. As I was mentioning earlier, we got the tools. As Larry just walked you through how to set up a campaign, really the nuts and bolts of how to do it and why it works. We know it's the right thing to do. So it's time for us as advertisers to extend our hand. And what I mean by that is mobile really is still like desktop circa 2004, right? People don't necessarily know what they're trying to do. So my example, when I went to AT&T, I didn't know what they were going to do for me. I didn't know even really what possibilities there were. I was just hopeful that they were doing something. And in my head, that's up to the advertisers. That's up to us to figure out. We're the ones that have to decide how mobile is going to behave and how we're going to provide really unique experiences for mobile users that are what I call oddly useful, kind of surprisingly useful, because you don't really know that that's what you want to do. So experiences engineered for mobile. One just kind of quick tidbit here is make sure you speed up your site. If you have a mobile optimized site, it needs to be fast. Avinash Kaushik, and if he's on here, I'm both incredibly humbled and apologetic for slaughtering his name, but he said at SES Toronto that for every 1 second of landing page load time delay above 4 seconds, you use 7% of visitors on desktop. And on mobile, it's significantly higher. People don't hang out and wait for your page to load. They have too many options out there, and chances are they're standing in line, or as Larry mentioned, they're looking up something that's more urgent, like a place to eat or an emergency that they need to have handled, and so they're not going to wait for your page to load. A really good example of a site that is very, very fast is the Marines website. This is just a site I found that really loads almost instantly and does a great job of directing you to where you want to go really, really fast and off the bat. So you can tell there's no scrolling involved with this. It's really simple. Obviously the logo is very prominent. They've done a great job with branding, so I know exactly who I'm on without any real text there or anything like that. And I just have 3 options. They could be go learn more about becoming enlisted, learn more about being an officer, or if I'm a parent and mentor, they have a section for me to go to. So the site loads incredibly fast, but in addition to that, they segment the traffic and send people just where they want to go. On desktop, that's important, but it's less important. People will dig around a little bit longer until they find what they're looking for. On mobile, they want to get straight there. It also spoke directly to their audience. They've clearly done some work, and I think that the nature of what they do makes it pretty obvious, but they know they have 3 people. They have the enlisted, they have the officers, and then they have those people that are either trying to talk them into or out of doing what they're going to be doing, and so that's speaking directly to their audience. There's no scrolling necessary. You just pulled it up, click right where you wanted to go, and I did a little bit of click to commit. So I've already made a decision to engage with that site. They made it extremely easy for me, and now I'm probably going to click the next button and stay on the site and go from there. And then when I talk about oddly useful, I'm talking about anticipating a need. So understanding how mobile users are different is a good part, but also understanding how your mobile users are different. So for your specific offering, what are they really looking for? To Larry's example, they're probably looking for a phone number. They're not going to sit around. They're probably less interested in filling out a contact form, although they might. But they want to know, can they trust this company? Are they going to respond quickly? Are they going to do a good job? And can they be here 5 minutes ago? And that's what they're looking for. So it's going to be unique depending on what the service or product you provide is. So that goes to how they use their device in a different way than the desktop. And can you give them some kind of competitive advantage? Is there a way that they're using your mobile site, especially if it's B2B advertising, that actually gives them an advantage over competitors or something like that? So an example like that is Hoovers.com. So I typed in, I think, business prospecting or business lead generation or something to that effect, and found their website. And first on the left, you see that's just their mobile optimized site, and it's great. Chances are, if I'm looking into this, I'm not looking to read a lot of information about what they do. I'm going to want to call and talk to a sales representative. So they made it really easy for me to call. And then they provided me 2 quick options: online subscription, so I can buy something right there if I'm in the mood, or also a mobile app. And when I talk oddly useful, I'm not necessarily talking you have to develop an app. So these guys obviously did, but that's not the point. The point is more about they anticipated a need I had that I really didn't understand I had. So I click on mobile app, the screen on the right is what I get, and they've developed a location-based prospecting app that I can pull up on my phone that will tell me who's in the area that I want to talk to based on conditions that I've put in there and filters I've set. And they're even going to give me directions to their office, they can give me their contact information and some information about the company. So as I often do, if I'm on the road and I'm traveling and I want to try to get some work done or meet some interesting people or some people that I feel like I could provide a service to, I can get on my phone, see who's around me, and really quickly make that decision. So I had no idea it was something I would want. I really didn't go into it, but they provided me something oddly useful in a way that would make me want to keep engaging with them and their brand. So really quick, another case study. I'm going to go through it pretty fast here, but the important thing that we get out of it is just how important iteration is to mobile, just like it is for desktop. So for this client, this is our first attempt at a mobile optimized site for them. We created a really simple page. There's a fair amount of text, but it's bulleted, it's bolded, it's a little easy to kind of digest all at once. And then when you click the Learn More button, it drops down the lead collection form. Fields are pretty big. It doesn't ask for a lot of information. All in all, pretty simple. The bad news is it actually converted 3 times worse than the desktop landing page. So this was a client that was in desktop and mobile in the same campaign. And when we were doing that and sending it all to the same landing pages, it converted 3 times better than it did once we broke it out and put it into its own. So of course the client, was kind of, hey, let's hit the brakes here, let's go back to the old way of doing things, but it was, hey, this is our first attempt, let's try something else, let's try something a little different. And so we came up with the second version. And the second version here on the left, pretty simple and easy. It's just a lead form. It has a nice image at the top, has a different button color that stood out a little more on the phone compared to the other one, and I have a link to the full site. So that we're basically saying here, if all you want is someone to contact you about school, fill out a couple pieces of information and send it to us. If you want to learn more about school, engage us on our normal site. You're going to be scrolling more. You kind of know that, but you can anticipate that that's what it's going to be like. So once we launched this version, we had a 373% increase in conversion rate over the desktop landing page. We had a 33% higher conversion rate than the desktop even in the beginning, and 18% of all leads for this particular client now come from mobile, which over the last several months has been a 300% increase in mobile investment for them. So not only are they creating leads, they're cheaper leads to create, and it was a huge growth mechanism for them to engage in. So again, the important thing is here, some people say I tried mobile, it didn't really work for me. It's not necessarily going to work the first time. It's just like every other PPC channel and vehicle we have. It takes some optimizing, it takes iteration, but eventually you can make it work for you. And I think Larry's going to go ahead and provide a summary for us. Larry, you there?
Oh, sorry, I was on. I was just talking to myself on mute. Yes, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for sharing those observations, your research, and your case studies. And basically, in our talk today, I think we basically we showed some data about the importance of mobile PPC. We showcased some work that we've done with our respective clients, and just to kind of give you an idea for the process and then the potential, like in terms of what you could expect if you decide to go about mobilizing your search marketing campaigns. And so if you'd like some help with this process, there are a couple of options here. Firstly, if you'd like the work to be done for you, like via services or an agency, well then I would recommend contacting Hanapin Marketing. That's Jeff's company, and they specialize in managing kind of larger accounts, 20,000 a month in spend, and I'm told that like 100% of their applicable campaigns are mobilized, or like provided that it's a fit for their business, of course. If the other option here is to contact WordStream, that's my company, and we would be willing to do a free account assessment for your PPC account, as well as we could give you a free trial of our PPC management software, which is called PPC Advisor. And that's a PPC management platform that features something called the 20-minute PPC work week. And as you might think, it's basically a system that kind of makes PPC management a lot easier, but provided that you're inclined to doing the work. So it's not an agency; it's more of a kind of a self-service software product. All right, so that's a summary. I think we have one last poll question. Kathy, do you think you could launch our last poll question here?
Absolutely.
So the question is, would you like, and the options are a free AdWords account audit with help in understanding sort of the issues in your account, and this would be conducted by a AdWords certified professional. Our second offer here is a free trial of the WordStream for PPC Advisor, WordStream PPC Advisor software. I didn't really get into that, but it's a pretty helpful software package to make you more productive. And our last offer, last but not least, is a free one-on-one solutions blueprint account assessment with Hanapin Marketing. And this is again for accounts over $20,000 a month in spend. And I just wanted to add that in PPC marketing, if you're not going to do the work yourself, that it's very important that you have a trusted and reputable company to go with. And I've known the people at Hanapin. I've actually been reading the PPC Hero Hanapin Marketing blog for longer than I've had the business here. And so I think that they are a great company to partner with for large accounts for an agency solution. So that's our poll here. Could you lock in your votes here?
And while they're doing that, I'll thank you, Larry, for the kind words you said about PPC Hero and Hanapin Marketing. And also, we use a lot of the tools WordStream has to offer, and we're reading your guys' blog easily as much as you're reading ours, and there's always great content there. So we appreciate what you're doing for the industry and how you guys have helped us out.
Awesome. All right, so as the questions are coming in, or Kathy, do you think we could just maybe leave it open for another minute and go to questions now?
Sure, absolutely. We can move on to our Q&A. So the first question that we have is, should we have separate content for mobile users or just format the normal website content for mobile screens?
So for me, this is Jeff, by the way, for me, I mean, step one would be to just optimize your current site for the different resolutions. And for a lot of clients, that's probably enough. I would say, when I talk about engineer for mobile experiences that are oddly useful, I'm kind of talking about taking it to the next level, so getting to a point where you're trying to anticipate the need and go from there. But I wouldn't let not necessarily knowing what that is get in the way of creating a mobile optimized site that's just easy to navigate with the same basic content.
I concur.
So our next question is, if you have any stats, ideas, or recommendations specifically for B2B marketers who are looking into mobile.
So I can take this one, or at least give you an opinion here. This is Larry. Basically, it depends. It depends wildly on your type of business and how you're crafting your call to actions and what your objectives are, and in fact, it's even really hard to do a comparison of desktop campaigns versus mobile campaigns, because they're kind of, they may be crafted differently, and then the statistics are sort of recorded a little bit differently with, like, with different objectives and stuff like this. So I think it's actually pretty hard, in terms of benchmarks. What our clients like to see is, like, they want to do better than what they were doing previously. So as long as it's, like, directionally improving, so it's very the benchmarks are very relative, and even that is very hard to do, because, as I was saying earlier, like, I think in Jeff's presentation, he had things like, conversion rate up and click-through rate up. Like, sometimes you could end up calling the business via the click-to-call extension and not hitting the conversion page. And that could be like a really valuable lead, but that's just not going to register as like an AdWords conversion. So in fact, so Jeff's case study might have even been better than what he the numbers that he was showing. So it's just it's a very well, it's complicated, and it depends. Jeff, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you answered that very well in saying that it depends, which is, I think, always the last thing people want to hear and the first thing we say. So I think that's key. I would say that your point to calls is very valid. So I think that generally that's what you're going to see on B2B is you're going to see a lot more phone calls. And so maybe investing in some software like Mongoose Metrics that does call tracking software might become more and more important. So you can use the AdWords call tracking metrics and they work great. And that's a really good place to start. And then if you're more concerned with it, you can kind of get into the more detailed options that are out there. But that's what I found. So B2B for us on mobile, what we tend to find is if we turn it off, phone calls go down and the client starts screaming. If we turn it on, sometimes CPA is higher, like Larry mentioned, but the phones are ringing.
Just to add to that, Jeff, I think you mentioned the Mongoose. That's a pretty interesting software. Just to give you an example of how you could take metrics tracking to the next level, like it can even like rewrite phone numbers. So like if a call comes in if a click comes in through your PPC campaign, it'll change the phone numbers on your site to have a special tracking number, and then so it just gets even more and more advanced. Like where a simple implementation, like if you weren't doing that, and if the person clicked away to your full site and then just called you on the phone, then that attribution would be lost. So I kind of agree with the kind of the customer happiness being the ultimate measurement. So that the cleanup company that that I was talking about earlier, he's happy. He's a happy client. Like I don't know like 100% exactly what's going on, but he's the one answering the phones, and he's indicated that he's pretty happy, and so that's what matters.
Great. We have this is a keyword question. Does keyword research differ for mobile campaigns versus non-mobile campaigns?
So I can start this one off since Larry started the last one. For me, it does slightly. So people are going to tend to type in shorter, more head term phrases. Broad match is going to tend to perform better on mobile because the variety in search queries is going to be, the variance is going to be greater than it is on desktop. So in principle, there are some subtle differences, although I've seen a lot of success simply taking a campaign that's optimized for desktop and copying, pasting, and adding mobile as the device and making it mobile only and seeing a lot of results from that. So I think it kind of goes back to do you create a mobile optimized site with very specific content for mobile, or do you just take your current site and make it mobile optimized in terms of being able to navigate it? The short answer is yeah, you can do it with the same way you would do desktop, but if you really get in there and spend the time in it, there's certainly opportunities for thinking about it differently in those broad match types way and shorter head terms.
I've also heard the same thing that Jeff is talking about regarding kind of the shorter query lengths for mobile search. However, I recently looked into the matter on a handful of clients of WordStreams that were doing mobile PPC to try to prove or disprove that, and I wasn't able to get any conclusive evidence either way. So like, you know, I guess the takeaway here is like it's kind of, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like a slam dunk, at least based on like what I'm seeing. Like the keywords, I haven't been able to see that they're fundamentally different, but it could be just a small sample size.
Great. Our next question is actually on ad copy. So how do you optimize mobile ad copy? Are there different strategies or phrases that you would use different than if you were doing a desktop search ad?
Absolutely. It has to do with, you know, come in now for a free, you know, stop by now or call now. Like it's just the call to action is very mobile friendly. Jeff, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I think the call to action is probably what changes the most. So call now versus, you know, buy now.
Or sign up or something, or yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think matters. I think a lot of the copy is the same, but the call to action is what varies the most.
Okay. So our next question is on bidding strategy. There are less ad spots on mobile compared to desktop. So how does that affect my bidding strategy?
Jeff, do you want to speak to that one, or I can take it?
Why don't you take it, and then I'll have some time to think about my answer.
All right. So, like, take a look at this one here. I think they can see my screen, right? Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So this was my case study about the junk remover guy. And look how I'm bidding always to average position, like 1.7, 1.9, 1.1, 1.5, 1.2, 1.3, 1.3. So basically, the phone, like, just prove it for yourself. You can just Google something like Florist or something. There's fewer spots. It's not like a desktop monitor that can have, like, you know, 10 ads or something. There's fewer spots, so it's important to try to be like you know, top 2. Kind of average placement, and so that's kind of the bidding strategy that we employ. Now, of course, it depends. Like, it just you don't blindly you know, go for a position without considering other factors like ROI or you know, all the other important metrics. But I would say that this is kind of one way that the bidding definitely is pretty different, and is that the volume of clicks and impressions drops off significantly if you're not in the top 2 spots. Jeff, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think you covered it pretty well. That's exactly what I've noticed too. It's if you're an average position too, you're usually going to be bidding it up at a little bit, else you're losing the traffic.
Awesome.
Okay, so we have a landing page question, kind of a combo question. First, how fast should the page load for a mobile device? How many seconds? And then, what's the optimal number of fields on a lead form for a mobile landing page?
Good, so I can start this one since it's, I think, some of the stuff I had mentioned. So for optimal form fields, I mean, it's going to depend on really what's a qualified lead. I mean, so as I mentioned earlier to Larry's response, the first question is give me a metric, and that first answer from us is always, well, it kind of depends. But I mean, it's just the least amount as possible. So I like to see name, email, phone. That's typically what I'm pushing for. There's occasions where it just, you have to have more information than that, or that wouldn't provide the right type of lead. So let's say you're an investment company and you only want people who have a portfolio worth $1 million a year. You probably want to ask a little bit more information to get from them just to pre-qualify them. So maybe how much money they have in their portfolio, but maybe even less direct questions that someone who's just kicking tires may not take the time to fill out. So I think that's the key there, is you got to really consider what you're going to consider a qualified lead and what's a qualified prospect to you, and then ask for the bare minimum from there, even to the extent that some people will ask just email address and then on a second page follow up with, hey, if you want someone to contact you, give us your name and your phone number or something to that extent. Load time, similar thing. So on desktop, if you're over 4 seconds, you're bad. If it takes over 4 seconds, a lot of times Google's actually going to start penalizing you for quality score and everything like that. So you know it needs to be at least faster than that. To me, 4 seconds feels like a lifetime to be staring at your phone. So a lot of our sites, we've seen that we can get it down to 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, with most of it loading a little faster than that. But again, I'd probably have to say, I don't know if Larry has any insight on that more specific, but I'd say it just kind of depends. But the faster, the better.
I can give you some ideas on how to benchmark this. If you use Google Webmaster Tools or maybe even Google Analytics, it'll give you kind of the page load times of your website pages. Now those aren't necessarily the same as mobile pages, but at least in the Webmaster Tools, it gives you a percentile ranking in terms of, like, how fast, 3.2 seconds, and then that's in the 20th percentile or 30th percentile or whatever. Like, it'll tell you kind of how that ranks, and it even shows you what exactly is considered fast and what's considered slow. And I think Jeff, it sounds right around, it was somewhere around like 3 or 4 seconds was the cutoff for fast, like below that, and then anything beyond that was slow.
Okay. The next question is, have you found it better to funnel the user to call in or to fill out a lead form?
So I think that, I mean, again, it depends, but I think that if you're on a mobile device, assuming that the offer you have makes sense. So if I'm on a mobile device shopping for birthday presents for my wife, I probably don't want to call a phone call to action, even if it's like ordering flowers or something like that. I'm probably still going to want to do it over the phone. If it's something information-based, so if it's not e-commerce but it's just lead gen, I think that both offers are going to be important. I think that you're going to see a substantial increase in total conversions if you enable the call metrics like Larry showed. I think that's really important. But you're going to have to kind of just look at the aggregated effect. I think you can probably have both those call to actions on your landing page, and I don't think they compete too much, and you'd speak to both people. If you only had to choose one, and that was all you could do, I would say probably go for the lead gen form, because in general, a greater percent of the people are going to complete that. But I think that really you want to place both and just give people the option and make it clear that they do have the option.
Okay.
I concur. Nothing to add here. Larry.
Great. So would you suggest mobile PPC for a small to medium-sized company with a limited budget?
There's certain attributes that a company might have that would make it kind of a better fit or not as great a fit for mobile advertising. Just I kind of mentioned them earlier in the presentation. It's like, does your business have a phone number that you want people to call? Does it have a physical location, where you want people to go to? Does it is it the kind of business that's listed in the yellow pages somewhere? Those are like, if those tend to be like certain types of businesses that make a lot of sense to do mobile advertising. WordStream, on the other hand, so my business WordStream, the PPC software company, we don't do a heck of a lot of phone calls, and there's like not a lot of walk-in traffic. Like our company takes clients anywhere in the world. It doesn't really matter. So that would be an example of and that our lead generation process is to kind of ask them for information about their AdWords account and their business, as opposed to doing a phone call right. And so we actually don't do a ton of like WordStream, the business of WordStream, not our clients, doesn't do a ton of mobile advertising. So I would just kind of think about your business objectives and make the decision based on that. I can't make a decision based on just like that I'm a small and medium-sized business or something. You know what I mean? It's not enough information.
Yeah, I think that's exactly a fair point. And on the other side, there may be industries where they're so competitive and so prone to be mobile. So like plumbers, right? It's someone, if they're searching on their mobile phone, they're going to want to call right away. That if you have a limited budget, you may want to invest more in mobile than in desktop, because you may be going after the right people. So I do think Larry's right. It really depends on the product or service you offer and how your business model is set up.
I think like urgency, like locksmiths, tow truck services, emergency dental services. These are all types of verticals that do much better in local than in mobile search than desktop.
Great. So we have time for just one more question, and this is about key, search terms. Are you seeing that most search queries on mobile are short tail versus long tail?
I think I talked about this a little while ago. I haven't been able to notice any discernible difference. I don't know if that totally makes sense, but I guess intuitively I would expect them to be shorter, but that wasn't. I looked at like a dozen accounts and I didn't see that. Any thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah. So our favorite answer. I do think it depends. So for an education-based client, what I saw was 9 of the top 10 search queries were exactly the same for desktop and mobile, and there was something like 17 out of the top 20 were the same. So in those terms, it was very, very similar. It didn't really make a large difference. Now, a lot of the queries being generated on the desktop side were head terms, so it wasn't that they were all long tail or a fair mix of both. It was all generally pretty top of the funnel stuff. So that wasn't necessarily a great comparison. But I think there's probably some verticals out there, and it sounds like Larry's looked across maybe more accounts than I have for this, and he's not seen the trend bear out. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few out there that make a little more sense to have more just broad head terms instead of long tail. Like I would think like e-commerce, someone looking to buy a watch online might just type in a brand name, Citizen watches or something like that, but someone looking on a desktop might look for Citizen EcoDrive watches or something to that effect. But I think it's really kind of dependent on the industry and the product and all that.
Cool.
Okay. Well, that was all the time we have for questions, but thank you, everyone, for attending, and I do want to remind you about the offers that we have from both Hanapin Marketing and WordStream. So we've got the Solutions Blueprint from Hanapin Marketing, and you should see that URL on your screen, and a free trial from WordStream. And wanted to let you know that we will be sending out a link to the presentation in the next day or two, so you'll have that shortly. And thank you for attending. And Larry, Jeff, thank you both.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay, well, have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.